What's trending in 2025? What are the trends for 2025? 2025 trend predictions. Should I wear this? Is this trending? I hope this is trending so it looks good. Trends! I need the trend, I need the trend. What's the latest trend? Is this gonna trend? Should I buy this? Is this gonna trend? What's up, y'all? Welcome back, YouTube. My name is Connor, and today we're going to be talking about my trend predictions, I guess, so to say, for 2025, the year that we're in. 2025? That sounds weird. 2025, the year that we're in. Let's roll the intro. This is the intro song. Oh, sing along. I'm just saying this off the top of my head. Yeah, intro, woo! Awesome, that is our official intro for today's video. Thank you to our sponsors and our very lovely choir. Couldn't do it without you. So let's talk today about trends and trend predictions. And one thing I would like to say starting this video is that trends really don't matter. I mean, to be completely frank, I wasn't even really gonna make a video about trends, but I do think it is kind of fun to try to predict what is gonna trend. It's not gonna really change my style. I will say the only thing that trends are like really good for is like trying out if you're into fashion and then just seeing if that like works for you, if that works for your personal style. If you're just constantly trend hopping, then honestly, I'd say that you're probably not very fashionable. No offense to anybody out there who does that. I get that sometimes it's harder for some people to understand fashion and what looks good sense. Not to say that I do. I mean, fashion is totally subjective. I'm sure there's plenty of people out there who absolutely hate the way that I dress. My roommates, for one, they all hate it, but I do anyways because I like it. So yeah, dress how you want. Just don't rely on trends. It's like unsustainable. It costs a ton of money. Typically they just go out of style really fast. So you always feel like you really have nothing to wear. There's really like not a whole lot of pros to them. So now that I've completely defeated the purpose of this entire video, let's get into this entire video. Now for what's trending, it is kind of tough to decide or explain because there's a lot of different, like, I guess, circles that things can trend, right? There's the mainstream. So like there's the overarching like majority of society is, if the majority of society is wearing something like Sambas right now, I'd say that's like a big mainstream trend. There's things that trend locally. For instance, where I live, every guy dresses like a workwear cowboy, and it does look cool, but that's like things that are trending locally, right? The Carhartt workwear, the Dickies, or just any kind of vintage piece, cowboy boots, mustaches like I have. There's online trends like TikTok, Instagram. That's where we get the term TikTok fashion from, which I'm sure everyone and their mom has heard by now or used. And then there's trends within just like the fashion community itself. There's trends everywhere, right? Everywhere you look, different things trend for different circles. So I guess today the trends that I'm gonna try to tackle and predict, give my 2 cents on whatever, is actually less of that kind of overarching what's gonna be mainstream, because I think that takes a lot longer to kind of find and hone in on, and it kind of takes a lot of push from the fashion community. And more so what I'm gonna focus on is like, I guess, the fashion community, but less so that, more of online, because that's just the easiest for me to gauge. Because frankly, I don't live in a place that's super fashionable, so it's hard for me to experience what fashion is like out in the world unless it's through the lens of the internet. So this is gonna be more, I guess, things that I think they're gonna trend online, things that you're probably gonna see popping up more on your TikTok, on your Instagram, because to be completely frank, as sad as this sounds, that's what I have the most experience with. Some of these are gonna be things that I think will trend. Some of these are things that I hope to see more of. So trend in the sense of like, I just wanna see more of them. And I'll kind of explain which ones are which. So let's get into trend number 1, and that is the Adidas Japan. Let me throw that on right there for you. The Adidas Japan I've been seeing for a little while now. I think the first time I actually came across it, I was in Paris back in, I think, September or August or something like that. It was the first time I really like saw that silhouette in person. I'd seen somebody wear a picture of it, but I didn't really care. But I saw it in person. I was like, oh wow, this is a really cool silhouette, really cool color. It looks like it's made well, and it says Japan on it, and everybody is head over heels for Japan right now. Shout out to my mom. She's Japanese. I was cool. I did it first. Well, technically I did it half first because, you know, I'm also half American, white. My dad has blonde hair and blue eyes, which I know, surprising. Now, in terms of how the Adidas Japan is gonna trend, I don't think that it's really gonna take over the Sambas as like a mainstream trend. I think that Sambas are basically Gen Z's like version of Air Forces now, right? Like I remember being younger and everyone and their mom had a pair of Forces, right? That was like the standard like classic shape that everyone gets. And I think for our generation, or I mean, depending on which generation you are when you're watching this, but for my generation, generation, Gen Z, I feel like the Samba is just our shoe. I feel like that's just gonna last with us through until the day we die. Like if y'all remember, like I was kind of on the cusp, I'm on the cusp of like the millennial and the Gen Z generation. So all of my older friends and myself included, I remember checkerboard Vans were like the thing for a while. And for most people, like I'd say in that kind of in between, maybe lower millennial, kind of upper Gen Z range, the checkerboard Van is still like one of the most popular, most go-to shoes. And so I think it's gonna be the same thing for the Sambas. I don't think that we'll ever see it go out of style. I don't think at this point it's like a trend anymore. I think it's just a staple shoe for our generation. The only way that's gonna replace is when the next generation becomes like, you know, old enough to be cognitive. Well, I guess they're old enough to be cognitive, but like, you know, old enough to make their own decisions, like kind of as a generation. And then when they decide what their it shoe is gonna be, that's the only time we're gonna see the Sambas kind of like disappear. Or maybe not. Maybe they will just like the Sambas. I don't know. The Sambas are cool. I like them. I don't know why people hate them. I think they're awesome. Which is funny because I know like so many like fashion oriented, which seems kind of stuck up, I guess to say, but a lot of fashion oriented people, communities, like online, whatever discourse, is that they're just tired of the Samba. They're tired of seeing it, which I get, but a lot of them act like it's super worn out and tired, which maybe it is, but the Sambas are kind of like just hitting the mainstream in the last like year or two, and like the mainstream, not like what you see online on like on TikTok, but like the mainstream, like your average person who like doesn't have any sense of fashion style or just doesn't care in general about fashion, they're starting to pick up Sambas now. So like the Samba's just kind of starting to hit the mainstream. So the fashion community might have a new it shoe, which like I said, I hope it's gonna be the Adidas Japan, even though it is another Adidas. I know everyone's saying, oh, no more Adidas, it's just the Samba reskinned. Maybe it is, I don't really care. I think it looks good, and at the end of the day, if it looks good is really my only like criteria. Not my only criteria, but obviously there's other things, but that's one of the main criteria. Of I just want it to look good. It doesn't have to have some crazy name or other brand. It doesn't have to be like completely different. But I don't think that the Adidas Japan will go like mainstream, like your average person's gonna wear them. I think it will be more just like online fashion communities, and then people will, their perception of that is that it is mainstream because everyone they know online is wearing the Japans. I really like the Adidas Japans because again, they're just kind of like, they're still that thin, like low profile shoe. They still kind of look like a Samba, and I still like the silhouette of a Samba, but realistically nothing's gonna replace it. I think in the meantime, it's just like a nice shoe to have. On top of that, the Onitsuka Tigers, I love my Tigers. I preach them all the time. I will shout that from the mountaintop. I've had one of my favorite pair for a few years now, and they're just, I love the really thin, like thin sole, like slim, tiny sneakers. I think they're just very my style. And so I think like the Onitsuka Tigers, kind of the same thing. It's not gonna take over as the mainstream. I think we're gonna be seeing it even more in fashion communities, which they're already like kind of heavily saturated within the fashion scene. Not that I really know, I guess I'll say the online fashion scene to be more, I guess, appropriate or fair to the situation that, or the lens that I'm looking through. But I think those will stay popular. I really think the slim profile, like especially with loafers, you can see it with loafers. I think that slim shoe is just really popular. It's not like the really chunky shoes like we used to see with Nikes, like Jordans and Forces and stuff like that kind of bigger chunky shoe. I think that that's still popular. It still has its place, but definitely for like the mainstream, I'd say it's kind of that slim, like lower profile shoe. And I think that's gonna stick around. All right, the second thing that I think is going to be trending, that will not even think, it is starting to trend. I've already seen it everywhere and I know it's gonna happen. And it's also something that I want to happen because I'm trying to move towards this too, because I just like the look of it. But that is returning to your classic simple patterns. So it's things like stripes, whether they're horizontal, vertical, polka dots, houndstooth, dogtooth, whatever that pattern's called. I always forget what the name is. I think one of those is like a pattern from like Animal Crossing, and the other one's like the actual name of the pattern. I really, really love stripes. I've been wearing a lot of stripes. I think just the classic, really simple stripes are just unbeaten. I think we're just at a time where, and this is gonna kind of get into a future point that I'm gonna make, a future trend, but I think just to say this right now, actually I probably should have led with this other point because it would make more sense leading into this. But that being said, I think we're starting to move away from just like the elevated basic minimalistic kind of approach. It works for some people, but again, I'll explain this further on later in the video. But I think that people just want something with a little bit more excitement, a little bit more character. So like, yeah, those stripes, those plaids, checkers, stuff like that, they're just becoming more popular because they just add a little bit more fun, a little bit more character, and they're not like super boring. Polka dots specifically are really funny because I was talking to my sister about this back in November. It was her birthday, and I called her and I was talking to her about polka dots dots. I was like, I really want to get something with polka dots. I think they're just super cool. I think they're really fun. And she's like, oh my gosh, look what I got. And she showed me like the nails that she got for her birthday, and they were like a maroon burgundy with like a white polka dot, and they were really cool. I was like, oh my gosh, that's so funny. She's like, I was thinking the same thing, because my sister is really like fashion forward, very, very stylistically great person, I guess. And so she was like, oh, I've really been loving polka dots. I want more. And I was like, that's so funny. I've been thinking the same thing. It's just hard to get them for guys because, let's be real, polka dots are a little bit more feminine, I guess, in like the greater narrative of society. You know, just not to sound all philosophical or more, I don't even know the words I'm trying to say. I'm just saying words. I'm just throwing things out there. But I feel like most dudes, like if you were wearing like just regular polka dots, would see that as feminine, because when you think of polka dots, you think of like those old 50s like dresses or, you know, stuff like that. So I understand why that'd be in their minds, but I personally like polka dots. I really hope they trend, and I am looking for more polka dot stuff because I just think it's cool. And again, don't wear it just because it'd be trending, wear it because it'd be something you like forever. And part of my style is forever gonna be those simple classic patterns. This leads me into what I think is going to be the third trend, and again, not really think so much as I've already been seeing it, so I know it's gonna pick up even more. I'm sure all of y'all have been seeing this as well, but that is animal prints, and specifically like not really leopard prints. We already saw the leopard print thing kind of happen, and I still love leopard print. I think leopard print is so sick. I'm gonna keep wearing leopard print just because I think it's dope. I'm actually bringing a leopard print coat to New York Fashion Week, which I'll be posting this while I'm at New York Fashion Week. So there's a chance I'd already worn this and posted this fit on my Instagram. I don't know. If not, then feel free to go follow my Instagram and see, because I'm gonna be posting a fit with a really cool leopard coat. Actually, I have a leopard print coat hanging up here. I don't even know if you can see it, like a shirt. But let's be real. Leopard print was around for a while. A lot of people, I feel like, are sick of it again. Leopard print's one of those things where every 10 years it trends for 1 year for whatever reason. And now we're getting into more of just the other varying animal prints, right? So cow print has been extremely popular. Everything is cow print. Everything is cowhide. Every brand in their mom's brand, in their great grandmother's brand, is doing like a cowhide belt, a cowhide jacket, a cowhide shirt, cowhide boots. Cow is just super popular, and I think it's just gonna be leopard print this year, where it's super popular again for a year. It's the same thing. I feel like it always follows that cycle of leopard print's popular and then cow print is popular. I remember back in high school when I didn't really care much about fashion, that's exactly the exact same order my sister would always go through, except she would cycle like leopard print and then cow print, and then like maybe 1 year off and then leopard print, cow print. And she still loves all of those, and she'll probably argue with this and say, oh, I've never been off those. Those have always been my thing. And to that, I'd say you're probably right. I didn't really pay too much attention in high school because I didn't really care. I love cow print. I love leopard print. I love animal prints in general. I think they're really cool. So I think animal prints just in general will be trending. And I hesitate to add this. I don't want to say this because for my own clothing brand, which shameless plug right here, I am working on one of these prints, and I feel like I don't want to name that because since I'm small, it just takes me so long to like get stuff made. So I'm afraid somebody's just gonna not steal, because it's not like this isn't been a thing. Yeah, I'm just gonna say it, okay? What I really want to see in something that I've really been loving is Dalmatian print. I love Dalmatian print. I think it is so cool. I love Dalmatians actually. For about 10 years now, I think since like back in high school, this is funny. I have like a list of all the possible baby names, like boy and girl names, that like I want to name my kids one day, right? Because I just think like it's just fun to like think about that stuff. And so under that, I actually have another section that says dog names, and it's not even dog names like plural. There's no debate. I have one singular name, which I'm not going to say because, you know, I don't want you to steal my dog name, but I have one singular dog name for a Dalmatian. I have it listed specifically as Dalmatian and the Dalmatian's dog name. So I want a Dalmatian. I think they have one of the coolest prints. Shout out to Cruella de Vil. I mean, you knew what you were doing. You're ahead of your time. Maybe not in a, you know what, actually, hold on, let me think about it. Now that I know what you did, let me take that back. Shout out to Cruella de Vil. The print that you chose was cool. The method of obtaining the print, not cool. So I definitely think Dalmatian print will be a little bit bigger. I'm at least gonna try to push it because I love Dalmatian print. I really want that to be kind of a thing for my brand, like a staple is Dalmatian print, just because I don't know why, I just have an obsession with Dalmatians. Is that weird? Call me crazy. Call me crazy. So yeah, that is basically my predictions with prints, patterns, stuff like that. That leads me perfectly actually into my fourth trend prediction, and this is again one that I think we're starting to see a little bit more of, and something I alluded to earlier, but that is a movement away from minimalism and elevated basics, not necessarily towards maximalism, right? That's like a full pendulum swing, but a move away from that minimalism. I think it's kind of moving into like a happy medium, because I know that myself, along with a lot of other people, are kind of sick of seeing the elevated basics, right? It just kind of gets bored, tired tired, played out. I think it's boring to look at. I think like it's good, it's classic, and like if you don't really care about style, I think that you should just go towards that because it'll guarantee that you always look good. You at least always dress like you're dressing well. I just think it's not exciting to look at, and one of my favorite parts about fashion is seeing things that are exciting to look at. Seeing things where you see them on the street and you see somebody pass and you're like, you know, because you're just like, it's just like, I love seeing stuff like that. So I don't know if this will necessarily trend. This is actually more of like something that I want to trend, I guess, is seeing a little bit more excitement. Stuff with more personality. I think that's why a lot of people like vintage, is because you have a lot more character, a lot more personality in vintage clothing. But I do think that we're not quite towards complete maximalism. I'd say I'd see that with some people, but like maximalism is a hard look to pull off. I think people are going for still more minimalistic pieces, but ones that like have a little bit more flair, a little bit more character, which is, for instance, stuff like the pleats, like pleated pants instead of just regular pant. People have been wearing pleated pants. Stuff with like interesting textures and stuff with like, that's like kind of simple, but like has some of those patterns to kind of make it a little more exciting. For instance, like a regular t-shirt versus like a polka dot t-shirt. Just, you know, for instance, off the top of your head, like a regular pair of brown leather boots versus a pair of cowhide leather boots, right? So I think we're kind of moving away from that minimalistic mindset and just more towards stuff with a little bit more individuality, a little bit more personality, because let's be real, that's what we all crave. We all want to be, as ironic as it is for this video, especially one on trends, everybody's trying to be individual. They're trying to show their personality. They're trying to, you know, have their own thing. And so I think that the elevated basics kind of worked for some people, but I think for the most people, it just wasn't it. So yeah, I think we're gonna move more towards like chunkier, looser knits, lots of texture, lots of fun, like simple things that just have a little bit more added character and they're not just like simple, well-made. I think they're gonna be well-made with a little bit of flair, a little bit of pizzazz. So we'll say that. We'll change fashion trend number 4 to a little bit more pizzazz. I feel like that's just more fun. Number 5 for things that I think are going to trend and things that I think we're already starting to see is a movement away from the baggy fit to a relaxed fit. If you go onto like a lot of websites and look at the clothes that they have, you'll notice like a lot of people have stopped saying baggy fit, oversized fit. They've started saying relaxed. Fashion is always on this constant pendulum swing of we go from this and then we 180 hard to this and then we 180 hard to that. And so I think we pendulum swung so hard out of the crazy skinny look of everything over the past like decade or two, all the way over to extremely baggy. And people have started to realize like, whoa, both extremes of these are kind of like a little bit crazy, a little bit jarring to look at. I think we're moving more back towards that happy medium where we're not going for things that are striking and look like crazy this or the other. It's just like things that look good in general, just like a happy medium. I personally think that relaxed fits, like wide leg fits, stuff like that, things that isn't crazy, things that aren't crazy baggy, like crazy stupid oversized. I'm talking like being like 5'3" and wearing like a quadruple XL, right? Like we've all seen that. I think that just relaxed stuff is a little bit more flattering for probably the vast majority of people, I'd say. So I think that's part of the reason why we're moving to that, and part of the reason why I think we're seeing a lot more movement towards relaxed fit straight jeans or just straight jeans, you know, just stuff like that. Straight wide leg. And this is what I'm talking about with trends, right? Trends are meant to inform your personal style. So while I said that I think for the most part, people are gonna start to move away from the baggy, people who hopped onto the trend of baggy, a lot of them, it wasn't a trend. They really found their style. So there's still a lot of people who really like that baggy, really oversized look. They like their crazy huge parachute pants or giant stuff. I mean, if you think about it, there's people from the 80s there's people who grew up in the 80s who still dress like it's the 80s because that's their style and they love it. There's people who grew up in the 70s who still dress like they're from the 70s because that's their style and they love it. In the same way, there's people who just grew up in this era of fashion and they found the baggy style and they're gonna wear it for the rest of their lives because they love it. And to them, I'd say that is phenomenal. No, whatever trends, whatever is popular, whatever people are wearing, doesn't matter. If you like the crazy baggy clothes, just wear them. Like there's no reason not to wear them. You don't have to rehaul your wardrobe every single time that something else happens. I will say that is a great example of how trends should be used properly to inform your own personal style and to push that forward rather than to just hop from trend to trend. Prediction number 6, and again, this is something that I am looking more forward to, something that I want to see more of, and I will be stoked and very happy if we do. That is a movement more towards suedes, towards fringe stuff with fringe, kind of this overall boho aesthetic. And I guess the boho aesthetic overall is not something I'm looking forward to, but I guess realistically, the only thing in there that I really want is the fringe. I've started to see people start to move towards that, and if you looked at anything this whole fall, like this whole past past fall season, Suede was everywhere. Everyone and their mom was on Suede. It was, so that's already kind of, actually I'll say something that's kind of already trending, but I think it's definitely just gonna get more popular. And I'm sure you've seen people talk about the boho aesthetic, like that kind of 2016 vibe. I think that that is gonna come back in kind of its own way. Well, I mean, you just know it's boho style. You know, like boho style, whatever. I'll just put some reference in images here because if I'm being completely frank, I don't know the actual technical characteristics of boho style because I was in high school and I did not really care about style that much during this time. But we'll just check that up to something less embarrassing. I don't know. That being said, I do love Suede as a texture. I love fringe. I think that they look really cool. I love movement when it comes to clothes. I love things that like just when you walk that give an exaggerated sense of like just big, fun, loud. And I think fringe captures that perfectly. Like those fringe down the jacket and stuff. When you walk, you can just see, like see the movement in the jackets. I think it's just cool. I think it just looks cool. It's fun. It adds visual intrigue. So yeah, I hope that that's on the market for 2025. And the last trend we'll say for 2025 that I will say, and I think this is going to be a little bit ironic. I think it doesn't make sense, but it also does. And I think in 2025, we are going to see the end of trends. Now, let me say this. Trends will kind of always be around. That's just a thing. People are always going to look towards others to try to fit in and to try to do this, that, and the other. But I do think that the landscape of COVID, of fashion online, of TikTok in general has kind of destroyed the natural trend cycle as we know it. And there's a lot of people who've made videos on this and people who know way more. I'm still learning. I'm basically like, I'm a freshman in fashion, right? I'm in intro level courses right now. So there's plenty of people who like know a lot more and who've talked about this, but I would agree with the sentiment that a lot of these people have been saying. So I just want to echo that here just to say it because I think it's important. I think it's good to like kind of put out there, even though I may not know as much about this topic. In recent years, there's definitely been a bigger shift and a bigger priority towards ethics and sustainability because let's be real, we don't want to destroy our planet. That's like a Gen Z thing and like a just oh my gosh, I swear if my camera starts doing this stupid light changing thing again, I'm gonna lose my mind. I'm gonna lose my mind. Okay, I'll just keep an eye on that. But for now, I will say that I think because our generation, Gen Z, is specifically like really starting to emphasize ethics, sustainability, and you know, not ending our planet before we get the chance to die of natural old age, and not, I don't know, an iceberg falling out of the sky and hitting me on the head for no reason, or a blizzard in Florida. You know, just stuff like that. Just I want to die of old age. You know, just casual, simple, or I want to die doing something really cool. It's totally off topic, super out of tangent, but like I would love to die doing something like really cool. Like imagine trying to be the first person to land like a 6,000 backflips jumping out of an airplane. Like that'd be kind of tough. Like if I didn't make it, I think that's kind of a fun way to go. Whatever. Anyways, I digress. Totally irrelevant. Because of this emphasis on ethics and sustainability, I don't think that the vast majority of people care that much, but I think enough people care about it, especially within the fashion industry, to where it's starting to push slow fashion again. It's starting to push like more well-minded, ethically crafted stuff or clothing, more ethical practices. Okay, hold on. I have to figure out this light chain thing. It's killing me. Hopefully that helped. Anyways, I do think that because of that, people are going to be less quick. At least people who are really into fashion are going to be less quick. Some of it's going to be peer pressure where they're going to see that other people are really into ethics and sustainability, so they're not going to want to trend up as much, which I think maybe this is the only time that peer pressure is a good thing, right? Like if you can peer pressure the rest of the industry into like not destroying our planet or I don't know, not exploiting kids in other parts of the world, like I'd say that's probably like, that's ethical peer pressure. Lots of helicopters overhead. I don't know what's happening, but there's like 30 helicopters overhead right now. That one's directly over my house. All right, anyways, to get back to it, I definitely think that on top of that, I believe Drew Joyner said this in one of his videos, but I do think that TikTok kind of destroyed trends in the sense that one, everybody's kind of looks the same and now they're all kind of pissed that they look the same. So people aren't really like down for that. So now everybody's really just racing to have the most crazy personal style, just different kind of thing that they can. And I think that's the reason why a lot of people have been pushed towards vintage and wearing vintage clothing, which I did kind of allude to and talk about on my TikTok. But I also believe that TikTok, because it just accelerated the trend cycle just by infinite amounts, right? Like things just trend and fall off and die within like months now. It's crazy, like months. Like remember the whole cores, the whole aesthetics, like all those things, they last for a couple months and then we're completely gone. I think people are kind of starting to get sick of that. I think think they're kind of over it. People are now saying like, you know what? I'm tired of having to jump from this to that to the other. I think that people are just done with the micro trends, right? It hurts their brain, it hurts their wallet, it hurts their well-being, and eventually you just kind of get annoyed and you feel like you're just putting on a costume. And sometimes it's fun. It's fun to jump on one for a second for some people and then jump off and whatever. But I think the vast majority of people are just kind of over it. They're just kind of sick of it. And I frankly think that TikTok kind of led to that. I think that there's really a downfall in the TikTok fashion community right now. I think that people just aren't as into fashion anymore, and if they are, they're more into fashion offline and in real life, because people are kind of sick of seeing the things that they like just be adopted by the rest of everyone online, which is tough for me because, like I said, I don't live in a place that's super fashionable, so it's fun for me to see fashion from other places. Everyone here has a uniform basically, and that's fine. It's not a bad thing by any means, but it would be nice to see all the crazy things that people are wearing in New York, or I loved Copenhagen fashion, or just all those stuff. But I really think that 2025 marks the end of like things that are just really trending, things that people find trendy. I think that things are definitely just gonna trend just in different ways now, and I'm not entirely sure what that's going to look like. I just know that it's gonna be different than it was before. And I think that we're already kind of seeing that a little bit online. There has been more of a movement back towards gatekeeping and stuff like that, and I think a lot of that is the result of people who feel like their entire styles and you know, brands, their identities have been just co-opted by people online, which is like totally fair because that's kind of what's been happening. So I kind of understand it, and I'm not gonna sit here and act like I haven't seen something that I saw, or I haven't seen somebody wear something that I like on TikTok and thought, oh, I want to try that out, and then realized, oh, I do like that, let me try to wear this, you know? I'm sure people have done that to me, so like I understand. I understand the frustration, I understand that, but I definitely think people are going to be a little bit more selective, a little bit more gatekeeping, and I think we're gonna start to see things just trend less and less. I think people just don't care as much because you can just see a million of them on TikTok. I feel like people are just kind of burned out on the whole trends. I think the aesthetics and the cores just really burn people out. That is my trend predictions and things that I want to trend in 2025. I guess we'll see how many of these I get right. Some of them, like I said, are already starting, so I did cheat a little bit, but I'm just letting you know stuff that I've already seen in case you want to hop on that right now because you're a dirty, filthy trend hopper, you evil, despicable scoundrel. I'm just kidding. I know none of y'all would trend hop like that. No, I really am kidding. I really am kidding. But that's all that I have to say on that. Anyways, had fun talking to y'all as always. I'm probably in New York when I post this, and so I'm gonna go get a bagel right now while I post this. That's likely what's gonna happen. Shout out to Garrett Carswell. I know you're taking me to get a bagel. But yeah, follow along with the TikTok vlogs for New York Fashion Week because I have a lot of fun on TikTok over there. Love y'all so much. I will see ya in the next one, and bye-bye. This is the outro song. Sing along, this is the outro song. Get along. Outro, 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 outro. Yeah, ayy, outro, yeah, ayy, outro, outro. Yeah, ayy, yeah, Okay, this is crazy. This is crazy. I can't believe it. Oh my gosh, this is so cringe. All right, bye.